Welcome. Today's class is Gentle Stretch, Gentle Strength Yoga. So come and join me on your mat. Please grab a towel or a blanket for your knees and for a few other things if we place them in today. And go ahead and sit up nice and tall to the edge of your blanket. You can fold it as many times as it feels comfortable to you to get the hips maybe the height of the knees or a little higher. That might make the low back feel a little more cozy. So close your eyes and take some time to center, to drop in, to drop underneath any of that chaotic feeling that we as humans tend to have, and bring yourself into this moment and really write yourself in to your to-do list. So write this time, this connection, this movement as part of what is necessary. So add that in so that you don't feel in your mind that you need to be anywhere else. Settling slowly down, coming a little bit more into the breathing through the nasal passages here. Slowly in and slowly out. Never do too much that you feel like you're feeling anxious or that you're holding the breath and you're kind of feeling a little bit like it's bothersome. I want this to feel calming. So slow inhales and slow exhales. And bring your hands together to your heart. Set your intention for this practice. Whatever it is that you need to bring a little bit more sense of self, maybe sense of healing, clarity, whatever it is. And I'm going to take an Om here. You can Om along or just listen as we seal our intentions together. Inhale fully. Sigh that out. Inhale for Om. Bow your head down towards your heart. Slowly take the head back up and shake off any clutter. Let that go. We'll start to roll the shoulders around here. Big circles. So articulating through this joint. And you can start to bring in some spinal movement if that just feels like it comes organically, if that feels good. And then from here, we'll again, yawn, sit up nice and tall, and sigh out. Let's press it back into a child's pose. Knees can be together or separated, and if you want to use your blanket or towel to pad your knees on that, feel free. Reach your arms way forward, crawl the fingertips forward, reach the hips back. Now take a really clarifying breath in and out through the mouth. And this time through the nose. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Rising up to all fours. Tuck your toes under and we'll come into a downward facing dog without a lot of expectation as far as how close our heels get to the floor. So let's actually have no expectation, please. And just let this be an expectation of stretch. Be generous with your breath and bend one knee in and then the other. How much you press the alternating heel down is really up to you and your comfort level as far as the stretch across the back of your legs. Let the contents of your heart drip down and inform the contents of your mind. And then from here, we'll bring our first gentle strengthener, more so than stretch, in our plank pose. So in plank, you could either be in classic plank here, or you can be in a knees down plank. If both of those are a little too tough, come to all fours and just gently draw your organs towards your spine. Find what you need. All of it is useful. All of it is beneficial. Breathing. We'll move back into our second child's pose. Knees down, together or separated. Reach the arms forward. Take that clarifying breath through the nose only. Inhale. Exhale through the nose. Rise up to all fours, and I recommend on this one putting the blanket under your knees because we'll be here a little longer. And we'll start to take our movement side to side. So this is gonna feel really weird, and it's gonna feel like with me, I'm like, am I doing this right? Yes, you're doing it right. There's no wrong, okay? So we're moving the left ribs to the left and then the right ribs to the right, going back and forth, and you'll start to see that the shoulders might do almost like an 8. They might be drawing an 8 or an ellipse, right? And then from here, we will roll a barrel roll, say that 8 times fast, around, left, up, right, and down, rolling through. So this is really good too when things feel a little stagnant in your digestion. You want to get things going. This is a good mechanical way to help that. And then reverse that rotation. So for me, I find that generally the direction I start rolling is the direction that I find easier. And when I start to go the other way, my brain has a little bit of like a glitch and it's a little hard. And that's true for most non-habitual movement. So if that's you, totally normal. Turn your fingertips towards your knees, and the more your shoulders are right over the wrists, kind of the more accessible this is. If you start to take your shoulders and your hips back, this will make this more of a deep stretch, so choose wisely. And if it's just too much, stay in your all fours position with your fingers forward. Take a deep inhale and exhale. And bring the fingertips back forward. And we'll come into our second plank pose. Now, you could always just keep the knees down and walk the hands a little bit further forward, drawing the pelvis more forward without dropping the pelvis, so organs still towards the spine, or come into that full plank pose. Breathing here. The trick is to not let the brain freak out because you're doing something strengthening or something challenging, but instead give yourself the breath and support that is necessary to do this posture, because you can, because it's actually in there. We're all stronger than we think we are actually. Inhale. And exhale, lower back to the knees. This time we will move the blanket out of the way, off to the side. And we'll come into a seated position, bringing the legs forward. Now lean back and just lackadaisically let it all go. So this kind of movement, when you're just la-di-da, it does send a message to the nervous system to calm down, like, oh, there's not a care in the world. So it's really helpful to do that sometimes. And then sit up however it feels comfortable to you, and just draw forward and to the side with the neck, forward and to the side with the neck. And let any tension that has built around the jaw or the neck or shoulders because of the plank pose, let that release. And then bring the legs forward again. Shake them out. Now take the flesh of the sitting bones back. I like to use some height under my sitting bones for this. Why? Because I don't want my pelvis to tilt back when I want my spine to go forward, okay? So we want the tilt to come from the hip, right where the leg meets, right at the hip crease, not so much the spine. So maybe sitting up a little taller on your blanket or your towel, taking the flesh of the sitting bones back, moving that back, helping the pelvis tilt a little forward, and we'll come into a modified Dandasana. So your hands can come to the sides or fingertips down. Dandasana is an active pose for the legs, active pose for the trunk, and it's actually a stretch for the hamstrings if you spread your toes out and you're getting into the arches of the feet a little bit here. Just breathing. How often do we sit really nice and tall in that L shape? Not very often. Breathing here. If you want to get a lot more strength through the shoulders and the back today, then you'll reach your arms either forward or up. Shoulder blades can roll a little bit more onto the back, but you're not leaning back. So breathing here, that whole trunk through the front, sides, and back, very active without stressing out through the neck. Couple more breaths. And then we'll go a little more passive. So cross your legs in whichever way feels the most doable for you. If you have very open glutes and hips, you'll have to bring the shins much further forward or even stack one on top of the other. I don't want to see that knee hanging in space. If it is, I would like it to have some support, because when you lean forward, if you lean forward, it could put torque on the knee, which is side to side movement. We don't want that. This is a hinge joint. Most of it's supposed to just go forward and back. So having said that, flesh of the sitting bones back. Maybe you're just sitting here and this is enough stretch. You might lean in. And then with your breathing, the inhale for the elongation, the exhale may be a little more settling down. Inhale like a wave. Exhale, maybe settling a little further down. You'll probably get to a point where you say, okay, the leg that's in front, you'll gently feel some stretch, or not so gently. If it's not so gently, back off and really find your breath. And go to the degree that feels the best to you. So what I've decided for my hips today, since I'm a little sore, is I'm going to take my legs a little further forward, but I'm not going to come all the way down. So again, everybody's going to be at a different spot, but find the Goldilocks spot for you. Breathing here. And then we're going to add some twisting action. So where your torso is, we're all going to be in a different place. So one hand will come down, and it might be right here, holding on to the ankle, other arm reaches back or to the waist, and you go back and forth here. Okay, very slowly, slower than that. If you're a little further down, you might have your hand down, twisting here, switch sides, open, twisting here, maybe hand to the waist. If you're a little lower, you might be reaching up or back, and you're from the floor and finding what feels good here. You can even turn the pinky side of your hand down if you're very low to the ground to open the shoulder differently. And we'll walk all the way back up and bring the legs forward and do that la-di-da. Before we do the other side, so other leg in front for the crossing, we'll come into a tabletop. Fingertips are going to point in towards the hips. Unless that doesn't feel good, then you can point them to the sides or back, depending on what you like. Shoulder blades roll back. This is the first option, to stay right here, expanding through that anterior chain, working the posterior chain, or you can lift up a little bit or a little bit more. This is called gentle stretch, gentle strength. So I'd want you to find the level that feels accessible to you. Breathing here. If you do want more of a shoulder stretch, lift the pelvis a little higher, and you'll start to feel right in front of that shoulder head that yes, ooh, there is something there. Exhale, slowly lower the hips down. And shake it out a bit, and we'll come to the other side. So whichever leg you didn't have in front last time is the leg you're going to put in front this time. Take the flesh of the pelvis back and ease, inhaling elongation, exhaling any amount of settling, ease on down the road, right? And down the road might be right here. You're down the road in your breath, but not so far physically down the road. What I never want my yoga to perpetuate is the idea that deeper poses where you're kind of collapsed, in a sandwich are better. They are not better. In fact, they can be harmful. So do what feels good for the internal body, not giving a care on what it looks like from the external place, okay? Breathing, giving space and time here. And then you might find that there is some place that you want to bring in some slow twisting at whatever degree of leaning forward feels good, or maybe right up top here. Getting into those shoulders. I don't know which leg I had in front. How's that for a great teacher? I have done so much yoga today that I'm very excited that I don't know which leg. I think it was the other way. Because my brain's not sending me a trigger like, uh-oh, that feels too weird. Okay. And then coming all the way back up, lean back, shake it out. And then from here, we'll do something similar but different than last time for the strengthening. So again, Internal rotation, fingertips pointing forward, kind of in the middle side, external rotation back, you choose. I'm actually gonna go back because I wanna change what's happening in my shoulders. And then from here, we're going to add a little baby lift and lower, okay? So this could be bigger if you want. It could stay really, really small range of movement, just giving a little more activity to the glutes, to the hamstrings. With my hands turned back like this, I'm really feeling a stretch in my forearms that I know from the weights that I've been lifting that I definitely need. All right, slowly come on down and shake out through the arms. Move your propping over to the side, rolling over the knees, and you get to choose this time whether or not you're going to a child's pose or a downward facing dog. It's completely up to you. As long as you're breathing, you're doing it right. If there's something you want to add on in downward dog, feel free. Like right now, my intuitive body is telling me, like, oh, you really want to move a leg up and down, 3-limb dog. So I'm going to do that. Maybe you want to cross one foot on behind the other to get more of a stretch through the IT band and the hamstrings. Maybe you want to pulse in and out of plank and downward dog. Listen in and give yourself that gift. It's sort of like I look at the way I do yoga, like the way I eat. What sounds good? What sounds good to you? You're craving it for a reason. And lower the feet down. Okay, now from here, we'll come into a momentary child's pose just to get grounded. Even if you put the forearms down, you don't have to come into that full length here. And rotate your wrists around. Maybe move the hips a little side to side. Palms down, tuck the toes under, downward facing dog, walk the hands back, and then from here, hinge back with the hips, belly on top of the thighs. All right, from this position, we're going to bring our hands in front of the heart. Now, if it's too much to take the belly on the thighs, come up a little higher, okay? And even if your belly is on your thighs, lift your organs away from the thighs. Breathing here. Active in the legs. Notice if you're way far forward with the knees, see if you can take a little more weight in the heels. And then slower than you want to go. Oh my goodness. Come all the way to Samasthiti or mountain pose. Breathing here. Samasthiti means steady and even. So we want steady and even in the body, but also in the breath and also in the mind. So give yourself some time for that. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was Samasthiti. All right, shake it out. So from here, we're going to do some alternate reaching of the arms forward, one arm back. And I'm kind of doing my wrists a little different here. I was just kind of exploring what would happen if I kind of put it down and then up. You can just keep the wrist straight if you want. Play with that. And now maybe bring a little more range of movement. The arms coming up and back behind you to open through the chest and to work a little bit more through the lats and shoulder blades. Okay, so memorize that. And then we're going to add a lunge. So pick a leg and bring it forward. Make sure there's enough space left to right. Whoop, it is a balance posture. And we're going to bring that movement here. So we're opening the heart space, opening the shoulders and the hips, but also strengthening at the same time. Really nice and dynamic here. And then if you want, slow down the movement, especially if your nervous system feels a little bit off balance and you want to calm that vagus nerve. Slow motion movement is a beautiful way to calm the vagus nerve. So we're holding the posture in the legs and moving the posture in the arms. Then bring your hands back to your heart, and you can kind of heel toe the feet closer together or step them closer together. You could even lean forward and step one leg forward, or you could actually spring back, okay? Woo, that was a little tough. Okay, whichever leg wasn't forward gets to go forward. Distance between the feet, this is not on a tightrope. And we'll come into the arms, kind of swimming through space here. I started a little faster on the other side, so I'm gonna bring that here a little quicker. quicker movement, not too fast, but a little bit more. Get the heart rate maybe a little more active. And now I'm gonna slow down and explore that backwards movement a little more with my arms, getting into the triceps, and of course, opening through the front body and the lats. Make sure that you haven't collapsed at the lumbar, but that you're picking up your low belly off of that very, very upper portion of the thigh. And just explore your breath here. The breath is meant to be explored, and oftentimes we even forget about the breath. So luckily the breath doesn't forget about us. And then from here, you can either again lean forward, hands to the heart, or spring back and shake out through the legs. Go wide on your mat so that you're facing the long edge of your mat, and then widen your stance, wider than your hips. I don't want you to go like into the splits. I want you to still feel a lot of structure beneath you. And just bend one knee and the other. So this is again that kind of swish movement where you let the upper body, even the head, just kind of side to side, sending that message to calm down, that we're not having to be rigid soldiers here. And then we'll work the legs a little more with this active stretch, and then we'll go into some more softness. So you're going to find one leg and come to it with both hands, and you're taking your knee and your second toe, or really whichever toes feel like your knees aligned, forward and back up, and then other side. Working the legs, so you're stretching the inner groin of the leg that's straight, and then working deeply into the hip and legs of the knee that's bent. Now, if you want a little bit more, you can put the fingertips down and take the torso closer to the ground. That will also get into your groin a little bit more on the extended leg. And then to the other side. Again, you can stay really nice and tall here, really high up. You never have to go into these deep, deep postures. And then come to center, and we'll go into that softer fold. So whether or not you stay here in more of a 90-degree fold, or if you start to fold any more. Hands can be on blocks or floor. The hands might walk further back towards the heels, and the elbows might bend 90 degrees here. Shoulder blades a little bit more scooped away from the ears if they have a tendency to fall down. And breathing and finding even distribution of your weight across your feet. If you're hyperextending your knees, put a micro bend into those knees. And we'll come into a twist. So I'm gonna rise up halfway, left fingertips down, right fingertips to the waist. Inhale, get nice and long. Exhale, twisting any amount to the side, maybe lifting the top arm up. Shoulder blades roll on to the back. If I drop my pelvis down and let it turn in the direction of my twist, I'm doing a little bit more of a turn, okay? If I lift that side of my pelvis and balance it out so it's more horizontal, kind of parallel to the floor, then this will be more in my shoulder and my back. Inhale and exhale, fold, more my spine. Other side, take the hand to the waist, use an inhale to grow long, exhale to take your twist. Again, you can play with what happens with the pelvis and how does the posture change dependent on where the pelvis is in space. For most of us, our ego loves when we drop one side of the pelvis down to help us turn because we feel like we're in a huge twist, when in actuality, it's more of a turn. We're in a bigger twist if we keep the pelvis more level, and even though it's a different amount of being able to turn up to the sky, our spine is actually twisting. Inhale. And exhale, come on down. We're gonna heel toe in and come into Malasana. Now, this is a great one. If your heels are lifted and you can't really put any weight in the heels, this is a great one to put a blanket under your heels so you actually can put weight into the heels, which actually opens the hips much differently than if you weren't allowed or if it wasn't available for you to weight the heels. You can also do this sitting on a stool or a block or some books. And we're just gonna lovingly open through the groin here and give ourselves some space. Relax a little bit more of the low back. And now from here, we'll just come on to a seated posture. So sitting on down, shaking the legs out, let that go. Point and flex through the ankles, a little more blood flow there, a little sweetness to the ankle joints. And bend the knees, and any amount of slow motion rolling down, maybe holding onto the legs, or you're just gonna come onto your back. So whatever is best for your trunk, for the whole torso. And bring the knees in. And draw a circle with the knees in your hands, or you can grab behind the knees and do that. Make sure you do both directions. Taking care of the lumbar, the pelvis. Feel when you take that circle, that massage of the muscles, the piriformis, all the area around the sacrum. And then hug in. And if you haven't done the splashing, the pretend splashing with me, we're gonna do that now. So this is amazing for varicose veins. This is great for energy. This is great for the lymphatic system because the lymphatic system does not have a pump like the heart has a pump. So first of all, I wanna make sure that your ankles are slack. From your shins up towards your ceiling, imagine that there's a pool of water that is staying there, not falling on you. And you're 5 years old and you wanna splash your friends. And so we're using fast twitch muscle fibers. And in yoga, most of what we use is slow twitch. So I like to put fast twitch in too. They're both very important. Do some research on fast and slow twitch if you haven't. And kick, 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 actively kicking. So you're firing these fast twitch muscle fibers, which is going to increase some lactic acid. You're gonna start to feel a burn in the legs. We want that. Lactic acid is not bad. It's actually been proven to be good for the brain in some ways. So lactic acid is produced when you do this explosive movement, or even if you do other kinds of movement. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, tired. If you're tired in the morning and you want to wake up, that helps. And of course, with lactic acid, you do want to drink plenty of water after you're done exercising. Keep the right knee in, extend the left leg, open across the left hip. Put a little L shape in the ankle of the extended leg. Hug that right knee in. This is your ascending colon getting a little pressure. Again, that mechanical movement, really good for elimination. And then switching sides. Other knee in, other leg extends, press through the heel. Your leg that's extended is on the ground, so it's not hovering, it's actually on the ground. Remind yourself if your jaw or your neck or shoulders are doing too much work, they can ease off a little bit. And then hug the knees in, point and flex again through the ankles. Soles of the feet down, and we'll take a little baby bridge. So your feet are about hips distance apart, and we'll begin to lift the pelvis up. If it gets high enough that you feel like you want to scooch those shoulder blades a little bit in, you can. Hands can come to the belly or down by your sides. Breathing here. The inner thighs are awake about 2%. So a lot of times we splay out here and we live in the outer edges of the feet. The inner thighs don't do any work. We want them to come on board a little bit, not too much, just there to help. Finding that breath even in this back bend. And exhale, come all the way down. Cross your right ankle to the top of your left knee. Take your right arm through the little triangle in the middle, left arm around behind or in front of the opposite knee. The ankle that's closest to you, make an L shape. That will help to stabilize the kneecap and maybe feel a little more stretch in the glutes. This can be rocked side to side too. And then switch sides with that. And of course you can always stay here. You don't even have to bring that in. You don't have to come any closer unless that brings you more beneficial stretch. And again, that ankle that's closest to you can make that L shape. Now, you don't have to make the L shape in the leg that's further away because there's not a chance of torquing this knee because it's in its hinge bend, okay? But notice if the brain finds it hard to only flex one and not the other, okay? If that's the case, practice it. Practice flexing one and not the other. New neural pathways. Little baby steps in the right direction. And then unwind. Oh yeah, I forgot. You can add movement if you didn't add movement. And set yourself up for your final relaxation pose. If you want to use your blanket, I love to use a blanket under my knees. And I swear the older I get, the more picky I get about my Savasanas. So at 42 and doing yoga since I'm 17, I am pretty darn picky about Shavasana. So please do get picky about it. Really take your time, set it up so that this is your time to release fully in a way that feels good to your body. Not just like waiting for it to be over, but being really in it, able to drift within it, okay? A deep breath in and sigh out. Placing your arms wherever you like, even if you want a passive stretch, heart opener by taking the arms up, maybe stacking one hand on the other. Slowing down. A lot of times we focus on what the body can't do or what we feel that it cannot do, and that becomes the story. Right now, I'd like you to recognize all of the things within this practice that you were able to do. That doesn't mean that you took all of the postures and did them or that you went to the depth of them. No, it means you moved and breathed in new ways and in ways that are beneficial. So honor yourself for that. And rest. Go a little deeper. Now increase your breathing ever so slightly, filling up the lungs and emptying either with a sigh or through the nose. Start to add some gentle movement that only you know that feels right? No one can really instruct that perfect waking up sort of type of movement from Shavasana. And if there's any hugging in of the knees you want to do or movement with the hips or pelvis, feel free to add that. And we'll slowly roll to one side and press to seated. And you can stay on one side for as long as you like. You don't even have to come to seated. I just want to greet you once again and thank you once again for showing up, for pressing play, for making time for yourself. We only have one life in this body. So let's not beat ourselves up. Let's make time, even if it's, 5 minutes. It's plenty, even if it's the full practice like this. Just put yourself on your list. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste.